Today, I am going to be talking about how to become a session musician. At USC, there's an amazing film scoring program that a lot of composers are a part of, and they would ask some of the musicians in the school to take part in recording sessions for the scores that they were writing for student films. I started doing a few little sessions here and there. I wasn't called for too many, maybe 2 or 3, and that's how I learned to play with click. A click track is basically a metronome that you hear in your headphones so that you stay on the beat, because if there's a lot of different elements in a piece of music, you need to make sure that everything is very, very steady. My very first kind of professional recording session opportunity was for King of the Hill, and I think I was a sophomore in university, so I was probably 19. I was doing a recital. After the recital, Roger, who was the composer for King of the Hill at that time, came up to me and said, "Hey, great concert. Would you be interested in playing on a soundtrack sometime?" And so he said that he could have the contractor add me to the list, and the contractor, also like some classical music gigs that you might get, is the person that is hired by the composer or the production company to kind of source and find all the different musicians. So I thought I was doing very well, arriving at Fox in Los Angeles almost an hour before, except I couldn't find where the parking lot was. So I got super lost looking for the parking lot. It turned out it was completely across the street. And then the actual Fox Studios was so huge that I ended up walking in while they were recording, because I didn't realize that the red light bulb outside of the studio, once I actually got there, I had no idea what that was. So I didn't realize that meant that they were in the middle of a take. So I just like barged in proud, like, "Oh my God, I'm here." And they were in the middle of recording a take. So that was a very bad first impression. So please don't do that. Make sure to show up very, very, very early. I've actually never been much of a networker, maybe in the sense where you go out and you reach out to people and ask for things, and that's just my personal preference on how to operate. I always talk about the dangle the carrot method, pretend there's a carrot here, where if you're like a little rabbit and somebody comes and they're trying to stuff their carrot in your mouth, like, take it, you want this, as opposed to making this carrot look really beautiful and shiny, and the carrot's just kind of there dangling in the distance where you can still see it. I think naturally the bunnies will become a little bit curious about it, and then maybe they'll start walking towards or hopping towards the carrot, and then the more bunnies that surround the carrot, the more that's going on around this carrot. Sorry if you're getting lost here. You are the carrot, right? So you make yourself really shiny and interesting, and post things and show people what you do, but don't be desperate. Don't force yourself on somebody. It's like dating. If you're super desperate, overly available, throwing yourself at a man, and I've learned this lesson myself, it's probably not going to go very well. So as far as networking for me, because a lot of times people do ask me, like, how did you get all these different opportunities? How did you meet Hans Zimmer, for example? How did you start getting work as a soloist? And for me, my goal, in addition to touring as a classical soloist back in the day, when I was 18, 19 years old and in college, I was really, really passionate about heavy metal, which I still am. And my goal was to, play with Rammstein. I'm like, oh my God, that would be, the goal of my life would be achieved if I could play with them or tour with them or just play one song with them. And so for me, I've been trying for a few years, and this is after I experimented with the electric cello and I was starting to kind of, get a little bit more comfortable with it. But I was really frustrated because I felt like nobody took me seriously. I would say, like, yeah, I want to play, metal on the electric cello, and people would go, "Oh, Tina, that's so cute, that's nice, whatever," And I find that if you don't show people, if you don't show them visually and, audibly what it is that you want to do, people are not psychic. They're busy. They have their own lives. You have to go out there and show it to them in a completed format, or as near to complete as you possibly can. I thought to myself, after like 3 years of me really trying to do this electric cello thing and not really taking off, in any way. I mean, I played some gigs through Craigslist. I used to post ads for myself every single day, 2-3 times a day, offering my services as a cellist, electric cellist. And, I got hired here and there for $50 for a show by different local bands and artists. I thought to myself, all right, what can I do to really show the world what it is that I want to become? And if it doesn't work, at least I know that I really tried. But I really, really wanted to give my all to what my passion was, which was playing metal electric cello. I thought, okay, what if I do like a metal version of the Flight of the Bumblebee, make it a little bit industrial? You know, I know that song. Everybody's always impressed by that song. And so I made the arrangement on my laptop. I used GarageBand, and I just kind of, you know, people ask like, how did you learn? You just figure it out, you know? And nowadays there's so many tutorials on YouTube that really, when people ask me things, I, you know, not to be mean, I'm like, have you Googled it? Have you actually made an effort to educate yourself? Because everything you could possibly want to know about is online. And so I was just kind of using the keyboard on the laptop to figure out, you know, how to program the little MIDI things. And I was just experimenting. It took a very long time, but I got a very rough kind of structure together for this arrangement. I ended up meeting a amazing director and a video team on a shoot that I was actually hired for. At that time I saved, you know, maybe $5,000-$6,000, I think it was, and that was my entire life savings. I didn't know how I was going to pay for food or rent, but I put everything into that video, and I thought, if I do this and it doesn't lead to anything, at least I tried, right? So I spent about 4 or 5 months in pre-production trying to figure out, you know, places to shoot it, pulling favors from friends. I was hoping that, you know, Rammstein or somebody would see the video and contact me and say, hey, Tina, come on this metal tour. And that did not happen. However, John Debney, who is an amazing composer, he wrote the music for Passion of the Christ, for the new Jungle Book movie, and many, many other films. He contacted me through Facebook and asked, hey, I'm working on Iron Man 2. Would you like to play some electric cello? You know, that wild electric cello that I saw in your music video. And so I did that. And after that, my friend Anne-Marie, who I met actually doing a YouTube My Grammy Moment contest way back in the day, she met Hans at a party, Hans Zimmer, and he had, I think he was mentioning something to her about needing a cellist, and my music video had just come out. And she said, oh, you know, I met this girl and she just released this video, here, check it out. So she showed him my video. And after he saw the video, he contacted me, and that's how I started working with Hans. And this was almost a decade ago. And that first project was Sherlock Holmes. So I guess the way that I came into the session world was kind of by accident, you know. I was just doing my own thing, you know, really trying to show what it is that I'm passionate about, what it is that I do, what I can offer musically. And people, if they resonate with it, if they find that it's interesting, they will come to you. So that is the dangle the carrot method. I don't have the equipment, I don't have this, I don't have that. And right now I am shooting this on my phone. You know, I'm not using any special microphones, I'm not using anything. I have like a light in front of me, and I have my phone. So if you have a phone, which I think almost everybody has a phone, you can record yourself playing your instrument. If you don't sound good, that means you need to practice. So that's another big thing. To be a session musician, you have to be able to sight read. So if you can't sight read, practice. It's really something that you have to work on. And I think sometimes people get lazy and you want to spend your time doing things that are fun or you know, satisfying in the short term, but it takes many, many, many hours of practice to do anything. You know, you can go and find even a classical piece and put it in front of you, and you're reading through it and you don't sound very good, or it's really, really difficult for you to play things in full speed, because that's what it is. When you walk into a studio, you know, all eyes are on you. You're alone in this room if you're doing a solo session, and they're listening and they're watching, and for every minute that you waste trying to figure out how to play something, it's their money that's going to waste. So it's really important that you're able to be prepared. Also practice playing with a metronome at different speeds. Just play along with it and see how good you sound, and you have to be honest with yourself, because if you sound pretty shit, that means you need to work at it. There is no way you're going to become a successful session musician without being able to play in tune, in the right speed, and hopefully almost perfect from the first take. And again, this is just something that comes with time. You have to practice. For me, growing up, I practiced every single day, no weekends, you know, 8 to 10 hours a day, every day. And I know it sounds harsh, but that's reality, that's life, you know, and you have to work hard. And for me, when I find myself sometimes feeling maybe a little bit lazy, you know, it's very competitive, but that's just how you have to think. I tell myself, Tina, For every second that you're not working, somebody else is. So if you really want this, you better get your shit together and you better do this, right? So if you truly want to become a session musician, first you have to make sure that you are actually prepared to do the job, because what if you get hired, right, through networking or whatever it is, and then you walk into the studio, you're completely unprepared. You can't read sheet music, which is a big one. You can't read sheet music. You can't sight read fast enough. And so I think it's a very important thing to be fully prepared. Another big thing, which I think in the current state of the way that the industry is, and with technology and the advancement of where things will go, I really think a big part of it will be, here I'm in my home studio, being able to do remote recording sessions. So what does this mean? This means that when you work with a client, with a composer or a producer for a song, instead of you going to a studio, you just do everything from your own studio, which is, you know, usually at home on the computer. You just send them the files and voila, you're done. So it saves time for me because I don't have to drive through LA traffic if it's something local. And it saves time and money for the client because they don't actually have to, they just send you the parts. And then you send them the finished product and they drop it into their project and it's all done. I will just talk about some of the basics of what you need to be able to offer remote recording sessions. 1, you need internet. 2, you need some kind of microphone. And believe it or not, I'm still using the exact same microphone that I've had for the last decade. I've only used this one. It's a Rode NT1000 microphone. Very cost effective. And then you also need some cables. So you need a microphone cable that will go from the microphone into the interface. Now, my very first interface I got for, I think, $80 at Guitar Center. Now I use the Apogee Duet, but there are many different interfaces out there. So you can maybe do your research online, Google, see what works within your budget, and you can just kind of experiment. But you know, most interfaces obviously work. In the end, it's really how you're playing that makes the biggest difference, not the equipment. I always tell people that, like, they're like, oh, really? You use such a cheap microphone? I'm like, yeah, and I use it even on my last album, Game On. I use mostly this microphone to record all the solo cello parts, and you know, in the end, it's how you play. Whether you have a gazillion-dollar microphone or a $300 microphone, it's really not going to make up for the fact if you're not fully prepared in what you're doing as the musician. And you need a computer of some kind. I've always had Macs. I first started recording everything, I believe, on like a MacBook, and then I moved to the iMac. I also need a stand for your microphone, but other than that, it's, you know, you really don't need that much. I have a couple of panels here in my home studio for sound, you know, sound protection, but if you're using a close miking technique, you can probably get away with even a little bit of background noise. In the recording, you won't really be able to hear it. So you can have a little bit of soundproofing, which again, if you Google online, you can find everything. And of course, you do need headphones. So I've always used these same headphones. They are open ear, the Sennheiser HD650s, but I found that if I don't turn the volume up too high, there is no bleed. So it's up to you. Again, you can try, everybody has different preferences. I would definitely take advantage of social media. You know, make sure I think every single day, you should be posting videos of yourself practicing playing whatever music you're working on Instagram, on Facebook, because you never know who will see that. And make sure to hashtag, you know, musician, whatever instrument, you know, flute if you're a flautist, and to really consistently post videos of yourself playing, because in the past, you know, I've needed to hire musicians. And so if somebody recommends someone to me and I go to their social media page, because that's what everybody does, and you scroll down and you see them, oh, they had that for lunch yesterday, oh, they went out with their friends drinking, but you don't really see anything music related, I automatically have to admit I write them off because I think they're not serious, right? And also I'm not going to struggle to find samples of their work. So if I go to someone's page and there's a lot of, there can be, of course you can have a life as well, but if they also have a lot of samples of what it is that they offer, because you're offering your service, you're a business, you know, you're you're offering your skill set to the person that's hiring you. So you have to make sure that your online business card is always visible. So make sure to consistently upload things. And I've also found that forcing yourself to make videos also forces you to practice to make sure that you sound good. So it's kind of this like way to trick yourself into really practicing and working because you think, oh no, I need to post a video of myself working. So that I think is really, really important. But in the end, the most important thing, and you'll see this as an overall, I think, theme or scheme for my life and the way that I operate, is the dangle the carrot method. So really focus inward instead of focusing outward and like asking people for things, or emailing people endlessly. Oh, listen to my music, hire me. They're probably going to be really busy, and there's a good chance that they won't be listening to your music or watching your videos that you send to them, because a lot of times these are the people that are inundated with this type of like unsolicited material, and they're also busy with their own stuff. So for me, would recommend just working on yourself, posting videos of yourself playing, posting recordings if you have them, maybe sharing with people on social media the musical things that you're doing. And I find that the more that you put out, the more content that you put out showing what it is that you are giving, so you're giving, not taking, people will naturally gravitate towards that, and they'll find it interesting. They'll go, oh wow, this person is like really serious about their music. Oh, this is really interesting what they do. I wonder what new oboe thing they're gonna be posting today. And it's fun. Consistency is nice, and then naturally word will spread, and I think that's a great way to operate. So where you're focusing on making your own carrot as interesting as possible, and the bunnies will come. Thank you guys so much for watching. Next Friday will be episode 2, and I will be talking about time management, because I am self-managed still, time management and kind of career business related things. So if you guys have any specific questions that you would like me to answer in that vein, please leave a comment below. Please subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.